Brought to you by the Welding Certification Center. For your weld training and certification needs, visit them at www.weldcertcenter.com. Hey everybody, it's Dan from Weld Fever. Hey, today we're at our new shop or studios at the home of the Welding Certification Center here in Pomona, California. Anyhow, we're going to review a fantastic new tool. This is the 9-inch Slugger metal cutting saw by Fein Tool USA. I've had fun with it so far. I think you're going to like this one. Anyway, stick with me, because here we go. Okay, so to start off the show, our friends over at Fein Tool USA have asked us to take a look at this saw and to evaluate it and review it. And I got to tell you something. In my honest opinion, these kind of saws are game changers. In the past, the only way to cut steel has been through using grinders with cutting discs, or oxy-fuel cutting, or even using plasma, which, as we all know, is kind of time-consuming and labor-intensive. These guys here, let me tell you, they make this as easy as cutting wood, and I am really impressed so far. This is the 9-inch Slugger metal cutting saw by Fein. It's 9.5 kilograms is how much it weighs, which is approximately 20 pounds, so it's a very sturdy tool. Yet it's not heavy. It's so heavy that you can't handle this thing. It actually is quite nimble when you use it. And quite frankly, I don't think you'd want anything any lighter than this to be cutting steel anyway. So I think the weight of it is just right. Okay, so this guy here actually develops about 2.4 horsepower maximum, and it's rated at 1800 watts, so it really packs a punch. It has the power to get through whatever is necessary. It has some really great features. If you look on the back here, you see these lights that are lit up, which is really cool. These lights allow for a work light. I don't know if you can see it on camera here, but there's an actual work light that pops on and off. You can see it lighting up there, and a laser. And maybe you can see it kind of here on the table. There it is. Might be hard to pick up on the camera, but trust me, it is a laser, and in person it's actually quite bright and very effective. So these, what I really like about these two is that they're conveniently located right where your thumb sits, so you can activate them should you have forgotten. Even while you're in the middle of the cut, you can activate these guys. Say you started cutting and you realize, gee, it's a little dark in here and I need some more light. You can just quickly with your thumb come on over and hit that, and now you've got light or laser to guide you. So I think the placement of this is actually perfect. Okay, I put the saw up on its edge here because I want to let you know that this saw also allows you to do bevel cuts. And as you can see, I'm moving the base plate here and opening it up wide. Once you've made your bevel, of course, there's a gauge here. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but there is a gauge here that allows for the degrees of cut right here on this portion. And once you set your angle to your desired angle, then you just lock it down here and you're set and ready to go. Also, you can see the plate here adjusts, and you can pull this out so that you can actually have a particular depth of cut that you need here. In addition, it does pocket cutting, which means you can actually come in at the center part of a piece of metal and plunge cut right into it, and then continue from there. This is an incredibly useful feature that you don't see too often, and I'm kind of surprised to see it on this one. Alright, so to continue on with this, one of the incredible things, probably the most incredible thing about this saw, not mentioning how it actually cuts, which we're going to get to in just a minute, is the fact that it can cut a maximum at 90 degrees of 83 millimeters, which is about 3 1/4 inches, which is a lot. Very thick steel, 3 1/4 inches. I'm blown away by that. We're going to test it to its limits that we have here on hand today, but 3 1/4 inches is amazing. I've used it a little bit already, and I can tell you I believe it. In terms of a bevel cut at 45 degrees, it can cut up to 2 1/4 inches at 45 degrees, which is incredible as well. So anyway, let's get started doing some demos on this thing so you can see it in action. Okay, so I'm not going to mess around here. I'm going to go for the hardest, most heavy-duty cut I can. And looking in my scrap pile, I had a piece of solid square stock 1.5 inches or just a little bit more than that. I think it's maybe 1 5/8 inches. And this stuff is solid through and through. This is cold rolled steel. And let me tell you something, although it takes a little bit of time because it's thick, this saw really handled it like nothing. I was really, really shocked at the ease of how I got through this. As you can see, a mirror finish, almost as if though it has a high polish on it. It's so reflective that it's even hard to capture on the video here, but it is a perfectly smooth mirror finish, and it is not hot to the touch either. Excellent job. Hey, just like carpenters like to use speed squares here to kind of help them guide cuts, this too lends itself to a speed square because this is very much like a carpenter's wood cutting saw here. So if I want to make a nice, even, smooth 90-degree cut, all I need to do is put my speed square up here and go ahead and go for it. And that's what I'm going to do. Here we go. Now that was 1/2 inch plate that we got through relatively easily, and you may have noticed that there aren't very many sparks, nor is there very much any kind of chips or shavings that came out of this. And the reason why is that this amazing little saw has a shaving collector right here, right, incorporated into the saw. So most of the chips and shavings, I'd say probably about 98% of them, are actually picked up by this collector, and there's really no mess on the floor anywhere, which I think is absolutely incredible. I know a lot of kind of tools have these type of chip and shaving collectors on them, especially sanders and whatnot, but they never seem to work very well. This is the first time I've ever had a tool where this thing works to about a 99% efficiency. It's really amazing, really amazing. So very impressed by that. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and test out the capability of the laser, and as you can see from this shot, it is really a bright, intense laser, and it's incredibly useful. Now granted, of course I have to try to line it up correctly, which I seem to be having a little trouble there, but once you do, this thing does the work for you. It's very easy to follow, and it makes a great job of it. I'd like to also mention that one of the great things about this saw is its price point. This thing can be had for roughly around $300, and that is a huge game changer. The amazing thing about it is that everything else that's comparable out there for cutting steel is a lot more expensive. Think of the price of a plasma cutter or oxy-fuel rig, or just the time consumption that would take place in order to try to do this with cutting discs. It would never happen. This thing is amazing, and for about $300, I don't know how you can beat it. I think it's just, I mean, look at the quality of this cut here, and it's perfect. I mean, just really, really great. Perfect. So I decided to go ahead and show a blade change here. Now the tool comes with a really solid blade for mild steel, and was cutting fine. Everything was going great on it, no problems there. But the folks over at Fein decided to send a few extra blades along with me, along with this saw, and one of them is a blade for cutting mild steel. So I decided to test it out, and there it is, mild steel cutting saw blade. And I also wanted to see just how difficult it was to change the blade, which, as you can see, it's not difficult at all. Just for your information too, the arbor on this is an inch, 1-inch arbor. And you know, these blades are fantastic, and let me tell you, as soon as I put it in and I cut with it, I can tell you it was, I don't know how it's possible, but even smoother than the one that came with the saw. And of course the one that came with the saw doesn't have that much usage on it, so it's not a matter of that I dulled it out. It's just that this saw is really, or this blade is really great. So for the final test here, I decided to cut, this is a 12-inch wide piece of half-inch thick steel plate, and I decided to make a straight cut all the way across. You can see how effortless this cut is, and this is using the new blade that I just put into it, and it is just smooth as can be. Actually, I've used many circular saws for cutting wood like this, and in all honesty, this blade, this tool cuts a lot nicer, a lot simpler, easier than I have experienced cutting wood before. I mean, it's smoother and easier to cut this steel with this tool than I've ever experienced cutting wood, if you can believe that. Okay, well, before we sign off here, I just want to point out that included with this saw is this really fine hard plastic carrying case, some safety goggles, some earplugs, of course a fully illustrated and comprehensive manual. And overall, like I've mentioned before, I can't say enough about this saw. It really is a top performer. I was very impressed with it. I'd like to thank the good folks over at Fein US for sending this to us to be able to evaluate it. Okay, that's a wrap for this one. Hey, listen, I'm sure if you buy this saw, you will be more than pleased with it. I am extremely impressed by it. I think it was a great review. I'm glad to have had the opportunity to do it. Hey, listen, we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to rate and subscribe, and take care.